It's time to talk some prospects on this edition of the Shootout. Me and Charlie are going to tell you who we're high on, who maybe we don't believe the hype on, and who might surprise. Stay tuned and find out. Today's topic is prospects we've already got here in the pipeline, Charlie. And the question comes from our pal, Ethan Freeman, one of our regular Mailbag contributors. He's asking about prospects in the pipeline and our take on them. One, players that you're banking on for the future. Guys who you're like, they have to hit. These are the ones I'm absolutely expecting to be the guy for us, or at least fulfill his role. Two, doubting despite organizational hype. Maybe someone you're more down on or more questionable about than what we've heard they think that player is ultimately going to be. And three, quietly thinking could surprise everyone. Maybe a dark horse to one day be in the NHL, or one day maybe even be a high contributor in the NHL. And he provides the caveat, like, prospects mean non-regular NHL. So, like, I don't know if Emil Andre fits here, like that sort of thing. Spent the majority of the year in the AHL or in juniors. So let's start it off with number one, guys we're absolutely banking on. Let's go to you first, because I think this is the one this might be the prospect people are most excited about at the current moment.
Yeah, to me, if there's a guy who I'm banking on the most, it's Igor Zavragin, because obviously the Flyers goaltending situation can be charitably called right now to be a mess. And the reason why, well, it's a real problem right now. Obviously, they have the worst goaltending the last two seasons in the NHL. It is the primary reason why they didn't make the playoffs in 2023, 2024. Arguably why they weren't at least in the mix this year. So goaltending is a major problem for now. But the main reason why I'm not terribly concerned about it for the future is because I do believe in Zavragin. They have the guy who you're just going to have to wait for, because, he's 19 years old and he's already a darn good KHL goalie for one of the, if not premier teams in the KHL, at least one of the big money teams in the KHL. He's exciting.
Yeah.
He turns 20 in August. He's a teenager, and he's doing this in arguably the second best league in the world.
That's the crazy part is, remember when Kolosov was still, and I guess he is still a prospect. I don't know how much longer he's going to be in this organization's pipeline. But
we shall see.
We'll see. But it was like, for his age, he's doing pretty well in the KHL, which is a grown man's league. And that's encouraging for what he could be in the future. Whereas Zavragin is like, yeah, he's pretty freaking good already. It's not the caveat for his age. And you look at the age and go, yeah, there were some ups and downs and stuff and throughout the season. But overall, his results were really, really good, considering he is still not 20 years old. Like, that's impressive. What he's doing already pretty impressive, as opposed to like the projection of, what's he going to be at 24? The way it kind of seemed with Kolosov.
Well, it's just, the question here is like, which Flyers prospect are you banking on for the future?
Yeah.
And when I read banking on, what I think is like, let me put it this way. I'm not going to be like, well, you can't go out and trade for a 1C because you don't want to block Jet Luchenko.
Yeah.
Whereas with the goalie position, I'm saying like, I don't think I'd want to give a 27-year-old goalie an 8-year contract to solve the goalie problem, because I think in 3-4 years, you're not going to want Igor Zavragin blocked.
And that's, I would say that is the definition there as well. And that's where I ran into, I think this is the one I'm having the most trouble answering, because like, Mishkov, not a prospect. And outside of that, I don't know who I'm actually like banking on.
Yeah.
Zavragin, definitely. It's just goalies are weird, and I don't know when we're getting him, so we'll see. I'm going to go with two kind ofs here.
Okay.
One, Denver Barkey, because I think there's questions, but like, what is he ultimately going to be? But a guy like him figures it out. Like, maybe he's not even in a top 6, but he's on an NHL roster, and he figures out a way. Just one, his playing style and his productivity. It's like, I don't know how it's hard to doubt him when you see the numbers. Like, at one point, he was at 2 points a game for these OHL playoffs. He was killing it, and he's just been really good ever since they've drafted him. There's got to be something. There's got to be a way he makes it. I just feel, that dog has Barkey in him.
You're banking on him being, if not a top of the lineup guy for the Flyers, you're banking on him being someone who you want on your team.
Scott Laughton.
Yeah.
Maybe not apples to apples. But yeah, a guy who's somewhere, that's an NHL player. Don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to figure it out. And I guess I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping on Jet Luchenko that
they're right.
Yeah, like, we've been wrong about plenty of things. Maybe this is another thing I'm wrong about. It would be dope if that is the case. And they just need him to be, even if not the 1C, like you said, like, okay, they need to go out and get one. If he's blocked, whatever, you figure that out. Good problem to have if he's like blocked, right on the top line. But he needs to just be what we were hoping Nolan Patrick would be. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, man, he's not your franchise center, but if it's Giroux or Giroux with Couturier and then him, you got a great top six. Yeah. And that's what I'm banking on them being right. More than what I think he is, I'm banking on them going, yeah, we passed on Zeev and you're going to let us know about that, but we think we're right.
Yeah, we're going to be ultimately
we will be proven right at some point down the line, and I'm just banking on that, hoping for it. All right, number 2, doubting despite the organizational hype, and I knew who you were going to pick as soon as I saw this question. Didn't need to see you write it down.
Jack Berglin, who was their second-round pick in last year's draft. Now, I know we had the fun little thing about the skate size being too big, and that played into it. I just didn't like that pick from the jump because – especially that early in the draft, I don't like picking guys who, from the jump, the organization is like, yeah, his ceiling is 3C. That rubs me the wrong way because my view is that, I want to go after guys like Scott Lawton, where, you draft him thinking, hey, maybe he can be a top 6 scorer. He shows flashes of that potential, but if all goes wrong, he can be a 3C or a 4C. I feel like when you take a swing on a guy who, he's a 3C, locked to be a 3C. A lot of times those guys don't pan out at all.
And that's
they don't have far that they can fall to the point where then they're not an NHL player, period.
And just even forgetting the ceiling aspect of it, which I agree with in terms, especially in the second and third round, no, man, go for the highest, take the swing.
Yeah.
Just the idea of drafting for need. It's well, he's a big center and we want one of those, so let's go get I don't know, man. Get the best player, maybe, not just someone who checks a box of what you need right now. Because when this guy develops into maybe an NHL player one day, hopefully, you're going to have different needs than you have at this moment when you drafted him, because this is not a 1 or 2 year thing here.
Yeah, we're talking 4 or 5 years.
This is 5 years from now. He's going to join the NHL at 24. This isn't who knows if he ever does.
Yeah, maybe younger than that, but
yes,
he's not going to jump in next year.
This isn't. Oh well, he solves the problem for us in 2026. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
This is a project. You're going to have different needs than you do now in 3 years. And I hate that idea. But I went a different direction. One for me is Oliver Bonk. I just don't know what he is.
You don't know if you see it.
And as
they love him.
And Denver Barkey is a 3rd round pick. Yeah, cool, man. I don't know what he is, but I think it's going to be something. Mm-hmm. As a 1st round pick in Oliver Bonk, it's just, is he going to be in the bumper spot on the power play? All right, I know you don't care about point production, but I just think some defenseman somewhere has to create some offense for this team. I don't know if that's going to be his thing in the NHL, despite the numbers.
I agree.
In juniors.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think he's going to be a single-digit point total
I don't think he's going to be Justin Braun.
Yeah.
Wow, he had a point this year. I don't think it's that.
I don't think they are expecting him to be a 50 to 60 point a year guy by any means, even if he was point per game the last 2 years in the OHL.
So I just don't know what he is. And listen, I'm not a scout. I'm not a prospect evaluator. Bill's down on this guy. Bill doesn't know what he's talking about. But just projecting based on what people say about him, I don't really know. If he's Braden Coburn, great. But is he? I don't know.
The Flyers talk about him as if they think he can be a first pair defenseman. I don't think they believe he can necessarily be a number 1, though they're very high on him, and they maybe see it as a plausible outcome. Whereas I look at him and I see second pair all day, and that's the best case scenario, which means that, hey, if that's the best case scenario in my mind, there's worlds where he's just a 3rd pair defenseman, and then it's a disappointment, especially given some of the guys they passed on to take him. I agree with you that I am not as sold on Bonk as the organization is. I'm with you on that one.
And I have to throw Hunter McDonald into that mix as well.
Fair.
Just I really, really want it to be.
They are so high.
this is, yes, I agree. We need big physical, mean bastard on defense. Is he that, or do we just want him to be like, you also have to be good enough.
Yeah.
Like, you also have to be good enough. And that's the, like, Paul Holmgren, when Pronger gets hurt, it's like, well, we got to find the next Pronger. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the best players of all time, and we're getting Luke Shen.
That's how we go. We get Luke Shen, Nicholas Grossman, Pavel Kubina.
Yeah. Like,
they were trying to replace Pronger in the aggregate.
And this isn't baseball. Only one, like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, like, I hope it works. I don't know. We'll see. It just seems as if it's going to be a longer term thing, like it was with Sam Moran. And
maybe Sam would have been a decent enough third pair defense without the injuries.
I think so. And that's okay, so he's a big physical third pair defenseman. Cool. All right, 6th round pick. You get an NHL player. Well done.
Yeah.
But it seems like they want him to be something that I don't know if he's good enough to be.
They might be projecting what they feel like they need onto a guy who might not be able to actually do that at the NHL.
Exactly.
Level.
Yes, exactly. All right, and finally, quietly thinking they could surprise everyone, I'm going to go here, Carson Bjorn, because I knew you were going to go Zavragin with one of them, so I wanted to talk about the other guy.
Okay.
Like, all the eyes are on Zavragin. But what I saw out of Bjarny, and like we looked at the numbers,
Bjarny.
What is this guy?
That's a very hockey.
Yeah, I love it. That's why I like him. A silent J, like that's amazing. But like you looked at the numbers before this season, and you're like, all right, he's good. I don't know. Looks like the guy that got after him is better. And then this year seemed like he took a step up. But I just really, what I saw with my own eyes at like the rookie games and in camp, he looked solid. Like, yes, needs work. Not a finished product. Going to probably spend a year or two in the AHL before we even think about it. But I like what I saw. And I think maybe the organization not doubting him, but people were just so focused on Zavragin. It's like, there's another one, and he looked pretty good to my eyes.
I think Bjarnason is going to be, because it does seem, and maybe this will change when they hire a head coach, it does seem like Kim Dillaball is going to survive the coaching change.
He's
still under contract. Maybe they let him go after a new coach is hired, but the fact that he's still here when they've let go guys like Rocky Thompson and Darryl Williams and Angelo Ricci tells me that he's probably going to stick around. To me, Bjarnason is going to be the first big test in this regime, because obviously he was entrusted with developing Carter Hart, and I guess we can give that an incomplete. We never really got to see what Carter Hart was ultimately going to become if he, didn't get linked with the things that he did or alleged to do. Point being is that this is going to be the first big test of Kim Dillaball under this regime. Can he develop one of their guys? Because Bjarnason is very clearly a really impressive toolsy goalie. He's big, he's athletic. There is a lot to work with there, but he's not a finished product by any means. So he's going to be Dillaball's project. Now, he's not as raw as like maybe a Kolosov or Fedotov for that matter, but there's a lot that needs to be worked on in terms of consistency, in terms of technique. And if Dillaball is as good as they seem to believe he is, then it's an exciting proposition to have him work with Bjarnason. If he's not as good as they seem to think he is, we might find out in the next couple of years if Bjarnason just like joins the AHL team next year and stinks for the next 2-3 years.
All right. I also just wanted to throw out Alexei Gendron.
Gendron, yeah, he had a lot of goals this year.
20 goals, but Cy Young style stats.
Quick little player.
20 goals, 8 assists in 63 AHL games. But I don't know. He just looked fun.
He's on the radar.
He looked fun.
He put himself on the radar.
Yeah.
He's now not simply Marty Gendron, who's one of the Flyers scouts. He's not just his kid. Now he's actually a fairly intriguing, depth prospect who maybe gets some NHL games and maybe surprises. The guy who I am probably, before the last few months, I would have said Alex Bump. Now he's getting a ton of hype, so I can't use him as the guy who may surprise. I'm going to go with Spencer Gill.
Nah.
I really liked what I saw from him in the rookie games at camp. He was the second round pick that is what I like in a second round pick, where he is an upside swing. He's got great physical tools. He's got size. There's something there where like that's my ideal second round pick. Where there's too many questions for him to be taken in the first round. But hey, if he hits, he could be a number 2. He could be a number 3. He could be a top half of the lineup defenseman. I think there's enough tools there that there could be something. He could be a guy that you are legitimately excited that he's in your lineup, as opposed to Berglin, who I think is a guy who, like, even if he hits his ceiling, is kind of like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, he's a guy.
He's a guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. I forgot about Spencer Gill a little bit, so I like that you brought him up. So that absolutely qualifies for that category.
And I think the organization is higher on him than most people are.
All right. Interesting. All right. We will.
I think they very much view him as part of the defense's future, even though he's a guy that doesn't get brought up as much as like an Oliver Bonk.
All right. Well, there's that list. There's the answer to that question on the shootout. The current prospects, of course, on Monday. Well, of course, we're back at noon with our regular show, and it's the draft lottery party. Make sure you get your tickets. It's your last chance to join us here at the PHLY studios. If you're a diehard, you can come hang with us and either celebrate moving up to 1 or 2, or be sad in a group, which is, of course, the point of sports, to be sad in a group. We'll find out where the Flyers are drafting, and that's first step on the road to acquiring a bunch of new prospects, and you can join us at the draft party. Get your tickets at allphly.com/events. That's it for us. I am Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. This has been The Shootout. Happy weekend, everybody.